Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to episode 63 of Talk4, the quickfire podcast where we ask four great questions to unique and interesting people. Behind the mic today is your host, Louis Skupien. That's me. And let me introduce our very special guest for today, Marcus Willis Wilbom, who's going to be answering our questions today. Marcus, please say hi to these fine people listening, introduce yourself, and just give us a quick rundown of who you are and what you do before I shoot some questions.
Hi guys, I am Marcus Willis. I am a professional tennis player, and I basically travel the world playing tennis. And that's about all I've ever done since I was 15, 16. So
Absolute legend. And yeah, so this one has been a long time in the making. So I was just saying to Marcus before we hopped on the podcast that I was looking back at the past meeting notes and stuff, and this has been in the works since episode 37. So this has been a long grind, and it's just great to have you here, man. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it.
no worries, buddy. Yeah, it's been a hectic few months, a good few months, but I'm glad I finally got around to doing it. So I'm excited to be on the show.
It's going to be good. Yeah. I do have four really good questions lined up for you today, Marcus. And yeah, if you're good to go, should we jump into question number one?
Let's do it.
Right. Okay. So obviously I know you from the tennis world and stuff, but the people listening who are from various walks of life and stuff, and listeners from different guests and genres and stuff, they probably don't know everything about you. So I thought for the first question, let's just hear a bit about the backstory then. So first question, when did you first start playing tennis then? Who got you into it? And when did you realize you had like the talent and started on the pro path?
I was actually quite a late starter for a tennis player. I started playing tennis when I was 8 or 9. Can't remember exactly, but it was around then. But I did. What got me into it was I played badminton. My mum was a badminton player. She played county level, and I used to go and after I work go and watch her play, and then I started
Mm,
picking up myself, and I was number one in the country before very long, sort of as an 8, 9 year old.
wow.
And then my badminton coach started doing mini tennis lessons on a Thursday. Um, and I started playing mini tennis, absolutely loved it. And
Mm,
it came to a point where actually I started playing tennis as well. My parents said, "Look, we don't have time to do both. Obviously, I've got an older sister. They both work, so they're like, you're gonna have to choose one at some point."
yeah.
um, and at that point, back in the day, where you were allowed to take a day off school every now and again, they every Thursday of Queens we'd go and watch the tennis. And I remember as a kid, we'd take a packed lunch there.
Yeah.
Um, I remember going to Queens and absolutely loving it, and kind of thinking, this would be amazing if I could do this one day. I mean, I'm watching, the likes of Todd Martin, Sampras, Rosetsky, Henman.
Great era.
I saw Goran Ivanisevic. He was sort of my idol growing up. I remember he
Mm.
signed an autograph for me, and I was absolutely buzzing. But I just sort of fell in love with it, and obviously chose tennis because I absolutely love tennis. Badminton was good, but I don't know. It was quite an easy. I didn't really have to think that much about it
Yeah,
as a young kid. I
it's an
guess you know what you
interesting
want to
one.
do when you're young, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, if you're number one in the country for badminton, then so it's obviously kind of a big decision. Then obviously you've got tennis, which is very, very competitive, but you already had like the foundations for going places in badminton. So like, why did you actually do that then? Was it literally just because of the love of tennis and kind of taking that risk, changing, or was there another reason?
Well, I think so. I think A, I just enjoyed it more. B, I don't know how good I would have been at badminton. Obviously, I was a big lad growing up, and a lot of these badminton players are very, very slight and very, very quick. And I,
True.
I had good hands and good talent and ability, but it wasn't as competitive as tennis. Let's put it that way. I mean, I
Mm,
started playing tennis and I wasn't even top in the county. I played for Berkshire. I played for my county when I was 12. I don't think any time before that, but I just seem to get more enjoyment out of it. Um,
mm. It's a
and
more
as a kid, you
all-rounded
don't.
sport,
You,
isn't it? It's like tennis has so
yeah,
many things going on from like the physical to the mental, and you have to be so proficient in everything. Like if you have a weakness or like a weak point, it just gets blown open, doesn't it?
and yeah, that's it. It exploits a lot, but I don't. I think as a kid, I didn't. I had that belief that I could be there. I don't know why,
Mm.
because I think you don't really think about the reality when you're a kid. You just dream. And for me, I
It's
was like,
true.
well, I'd love to play at Wimbledon one day and stuff like that. And I didn't really think. what's this going to take? which is good. I didn't think like that as a child. Obviously, the reality is very different, as you know. It's very cutthroat. There's a lot of good players out there, and it's not a straightforward task trying to be a pro tennis player. But
By no
I
means.
think I just love competing. I love matches more than anything like that. I remember I always wanted to play points in practice. I didn't really like the drilling that much, but I've got better as I've got older with the training and the drills and stuff like that. But as a young kid, I think I just wanted to play.
Yeah, it's true. Half an hour of like cross courts every day gets old after a very short
Yeah,
period of time, doesn't it?
it certainly does, mate. And doubles is even more technical. It's some of the stuff's really boring, but it's very necessary.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, like I said, you have to be so proficient in all of those aspects of tennis to be good and so competitive. Like I said, literally, it's like if you have that weakness or that weak point, you can have things like, I mean, you look at the best players and they have like maybe a shot that's not as good as their other shot,
Yeah.
but that's the extent of it. There's no weakness. There's no bad
No.
shot. Is that everything is so good, and there's just like what's got the slight advantage over that side and stuff. So, but I mean, you said obviously dreamed of going to Wimbledon, playing in Wimbledon. Let's face it, this has been an accomplished dream. So tell me about this then. So for the non-tennis players who don't know about this and stuff, and the fans tuned in, just tell us how you found yourself coming on to centre court in Wimbledon, playing against arguably the greatest player of all time, Roger Federer. How did that happen for you? And just describe like the feelings and the experience of that.
Well, I mean, it was really strange. I kind of always knew I had the ability to get there, and I played junior Wimbledon there twice. Made the third round twice a year young, and I was top 15 in the world as a junior. So I had promise, and then it didn't quite happen for me. I sort of got to about 300 in the world, played a couple of challengers, lost my drive a little bit into my 20s, started going out a bit too much, doing the wrong things. But yeah, as I say, it's quite a lonely world, right? And I sort of didn't have a coach in my mid-20s and kind of do what I wanted, and it was hard to then find my path back. And I got to 25 years old. I remember playing some tournaments and I tore my hamstring. So I was out for 7-8 weeks, and then I was really thinking, do I want to keep doing this?
Sure.
Do I really want to keep doing this? And I went through to the next year. I started working with a player, so getting paid a bit whilst playing tournaments. And I remember I was out in Tunisia. I think I made the quarterfinals and hurt my knee in the double, so I had to pull out. And I hadn't played a professional match. So that was January of 2016. And then I went out to Philadelphia with a friend, and I started doing a bit of work there. And come May and June, I had a job offer, like a really nice job offer out in the States, earning well. And it just really appealed to me because I've been grinding all my life. I've been living in my overdraft, just trying to make ends meet. And I just thought, I'm a bit fed up with this. I met my now wife in the March, which, yeah, that was a bit of a turning point for me because I was speaking to her and said, look, I've got this job offer out in America. And she's like, well, come and you maybe get a job near me and we can try and look for a sponsor for you. I think you've got more in you. And I was always going to play the pre-qualifying event. I played it every year. I tried to play it every year. And I'd only been playing sort of French league matches for my club out there. That's another way of earning good money. And I remember signing in and calling up and them telling me, yeah, you're the last one in, and you only got in because a guy called Scott Clayton hadn't made it back from Turkey in time to sign in.
Oh wow.
I was quite surprised because I was 770 in the world, which isn't that high, but normally pre-qualies you get in around 1,000. So this was strong. So I remember doing a mini Reds lesson on the Wednesday, and then going down to London on the Thursday. Bearing in mind I hadn't hit a ball on grass because I haven't been playing. I've just been playing French league matches on clay most of the time. So I rocked up to go and practice, and it rained. So the next day, I played a guy called Luke Bambridge, first round pre-qualies, and they said, because it's been raining, we'll give you an extra 5 minutes to warm up, like an extended warm up. So I'd hit 10 minutes on grass. I had no expectation. Obviously, I was unseeded, and sort of one by one, I found my way through each match and ended up pre-qualifying. And I was absolutely buzzing with that because I was thinking giving up, and now I'm playing Wimbledon qualifying, and I've got 5 grand in my pocket.
Where was that? Was that in
Like,
Surbiton or was that somewhere else?
the pre-qualies is actually at Orangi Park, so the
Okay,
Wimbledon practice courts.
right, nice.
And so yeah, obviously after I've pre-qualied, I was quite pumped, and I could sort of see myself playing tennis for a while longer. So I won every match in straight sets. I beat Joe Salisbury to qualify, Omara the round before, and I was playing some these are good players. Joe Salisbury's, number one in the world doubles now, or 2 or 3 anyway.
Yeah, it's done well. Yeah.
But yeah, these are all good wins, and I thought I'm actually playing some good stuff still. I can still do this, and I remember we actually had a Coldplay concert booked at Wembley, me and my family, and I remember on a Sunday there, I had a couple of pims. I was happy. Look, I was happy to be playing at Wimbledon again, and not at Wimbledon, the qualies, and I remember the draw came out, and I played Sugita first round. Now Sugita had beat me the year before quite comfortably, had qualified the last 2 years. And my dad said, "Oh well, just enjoy it."
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And I went 6-1 down in 17 minutes.
Jesus, quick.
But yeah, quick. I mean, he was on top of me, but I was sort of playing well, but just not quite. I was missing, but by a little bit. And I thought, well, I've got to keep trying to play this way because I'm not going to out rally the dude. He's rapid. And I turned that match around. Won the second set 7-5, and then played a great third set, 1-6-1, and then all of a sudden I've got 8 points and 8 grand, and I'm playing a guy called Andrei Rublev the next round. And I'd known a bit about him. He was a youngster. He was 18, but he was already playing a couple of ATPs. Hit the ball so hard.
Jesus, yeah.
And I remember not really giving myself a chance, but all in my head I just wanted to go out there and stay tight with him. Make it close and I got out there, and it was tough at the start. I won that in straight sets. And then the media starts getting a little bit interested. They sort of got hold and got wind of the fact I was about to retire. So I started doing a couple of interviews with the BBC, and I'm in last round qualies for a Grand Slam. And I'm thinking, years before, when I was 19, I won a round in qualies, so I'd never been past that stage before.
It's a good story, isn't it?
Yeah, and then I played Daniil Medvedev, who's now another top 10 player in the world. I think he's won a Grand Slam. He hadn't at this point, and I sort of did a bit of research, and I saw he'd been defaulted from a match before. He could lose his head a bit. So I thought, well, I've just got to hang in there and try and be as annoying as possible. Really, with my game, it's I slice the ball around. I'm not a conventional player, so I thought I've got a chance here. And then again there, I went 5-1 down very quickly and ended up losing the first set and being tight in the second. And I think I broke him, and he just completely lost the plot. And that moment, I thought I can win this match. And yeah, slowly by the end of the match, I was quite comfortably. I was 5-2 up serving, and then I got a little bit tight, played an awful game, and then served out at 5-4. But yeah, I just qualified for Wimbledon. It was really confusing because I knew, when I was about to retire, I thought it's a shame I've never played men's Wimbledon. Now, men's Wimbledon, I thought even doubles or mixed doubles, because years before, me and my doubles partner lost last round in qualies at Wimbledon, and we wanted to stay and sign in.
Yeah.
As you can get in as an alternate now.
Right.
I was then at the LTA with the coach who said, "No, you're going to Norway." And as I was in Norway, I got a call from someone at Wimbledon saying, "Are you and Smethurst around? Because you're in."
No way.
And obviously, I couldn't make it back in time. So part of me was really frustrated. I never got to play at men's Wimbledon, and then I just qualified as I was about to retire. So that was all very strange. Now, when I came out after winning against Medvedev, there's probably about 100 cameras everywhere. So I knew then I'd caused some sort of a story.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And I remember just obviously being delighted I won, but I remember I just wanted to get out of there. I didn't want anything to do with any of that.
Sure.
So I went all the way back to Warwick after I qualified and turned my phone off.
Yeah.
And then we drove to Wimbledon the next day. I played a guy called Marcust first round, who's my sort of age, 50th in the world, and I played a great match out on court 17. That was really good atmosphere. And then as I came off that match, I looked up on centre and saw Federer was playing. I don't really look at the draw too much.
Sure.
I have a look, but it didn't register, and then I thought, crap, I'm playing Federer in it. If he wins, and it's that point I was like, what the hell's going on here? I mean,
Yeah.
in the space of less than 2 weeks, I've only just got into pre-qualies, and then the next day there's cameras everywhere, and I've got to play Roger Federer on centre court.
Mm.
And part of me was like telling myself this is everything you ever wanted, but part of me was absolutely crapping it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of media attention up to that. Yeah, I got out. I played okay. It was difficult out there, to say the least, but I made a good enough account of myself in the end.
Definitely did.
Had a few chances to break to serve for the third, but obviously he's very good, and he was kind of a level up, and it was my 8th match in a couple of weeks. I was getting, not to make an excuse, because I was full of adrenaline. I don't think if I had loads of energy I would have done any better, but after that match I couldn't walk for 2 weeks. I was done.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But yeah, unbelievable atmosphere. The roof was closed. It was very, very loud in there. And I don't think I got to appreciate that enough, because I was so focused on the next point and the next shot, because you have to be when you're playing someone that good.
Yeah.
But actually, sure. I look back at videos and listen to people's experience of being there, and now I appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah.
But at the time, it sounds mad, but I just had to treat it as a tennis match, because otherwise I could have completely capitulated,
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that kind of thing can just blow your head in the moment, can't it? Especially like in that sort of a situation. But yeah, man, that's a serious lineup of people leading up to that match. But let's be real. The real reason that got you there is most likely that awful, horrendous to deal with slider wide on the outside on the grass courts. Now, surely that's the number one contributor to getting you to that point.
It was. I mean, I've always had a decent serve, but I was serving particularly well at Wimbledon that year.
Where was County Week this year? Because I experienced that and it was horrible.
That was out in where was that? In West Worthing.
West Worthing, that's the one. Yeah, that's I can totally see how a Medvedev would lose his head at the prospect of having to have a whole match worth of dealing with that. Awful.
Yeah, it has its perks being a lefty sometimes, but yeah, I played the big points particularly well. I was in a very good headspace. I think in my first round I had the most amount of returns back in the court,
nice.
Which was not a weakness of mine, but I wasn't known to be an amazing returner, and I think I made something like 86% of every return that I touched. So
that's great.
I think I was just serving really well and just creating constant pressure on their serve, and I saved 19 out of 20 break points in my first round as well.
That's good going. That's very good going.
I'd say the tennis I was playing wasn't incredible in that first round, but on big points I was just there, and I kind of knew I was going to play well before the big point. It was really strange, and it's something I wish I could have every week of my life.
Don't we all? Tennis players all wish they could have that, but it's so like tennis is so on and off. Like one day you can be playing literally just flawless stuff, and then the next day could be just absolute trash. But I think like the kind of the level thing, it's about what the sort of base level is, and improvement is sort of like what's going to be where you don't drop down from, in a sense, and like the standards of play. So that's like where improvement lies in tennis, I'd say.
That's it, mate. The better I've got, the more I realise like you need to be able to win matches on your worst day.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Find a way. And I never had that when I was younger. I was very attacking and very one-dimensional, and I got better at gritting out some results, and I did a couple that year at Wimbledon. I wasn't playing necessarily amazing all the time, but I just managed to play within myself, and it was a good time and a good place to do it, to be honest.
Absolutely. I mean, tennis is a game of long odds, really, isn't it? It's like it's no sprint. It's just hundreds of matches, hundreds of tournaments, and just training all the time. And we can all have like one of those days that's just on fire, where we can literally just like take it to anyone, basically. But it's the case of a tournament is sometimes in more than 5, 6, 7 matches or something, if you have qualies and pre-qualies and pre-qualies or whatever it is nowadays, and you have to have like that level which just you don't drop down from. So like on a bad day, this is where you're going to be, and that level has to be a winning level still. So it's one of those things. But just out of interest then as well, so tell me about this. So pre-Federer match, obviously knowledge that you're probably going up against like literally arguably the best player of all time, the GOAT, everyone calls him. What was like the tactical plan for that match? Was there a tactical approach to it, or was it just a case of, okay, I'm gonna just see what I can do here and what's working on the day? How did you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, me and my coach, like the first round, we had a game plan, and in his first round, he looked like he was struggling on his low backhand. It looked like his back was in a bit of pain.
Right.
So the target was to get him short and low on his backhand. Now, apparently, he had an injection the night before he played me, and I hit one there at 30 all in the first game, and he just stepped in and trounced it for a winner on his serve.
Oh,
So
okay.
I lost. Look, I lost the first set 6-love. I had to very quickly change and simplify everything. I was thinking too much about where to put the ball rather than kind of backing what had been working for me. And actually, at that time, if you got 4 or 5 balls to his backhand, he'd miss or give you an opportunity to come forward.
Right.
Now, that I remember the year. It was the 2016 I played him in the 2017 final against Rafa at the Aussie. He'd worked on that backhand. He was smashing it. So I'm kind of grateful I played him then as well, because that's where I was getting my joy in the second and third set. But obviously, I think most people try and do that, so he's quite used to it. He hits his forehand very well from that corner, and makes
Yeah.
the court feel very small. So no, the tactic was, yeah, it was the most precise tactic I've ever had. But yeah, it was strange. It was all about balance, really, and it's very easy. Like on the big points in the first set, I think I won 22 points and lost 6-love. Every time I got to a break or a game point, I went a bit too big, tried to do a bit too much, rather than actually these guys are human, and if you can get on the board against them, you're gonna have to do something special to beat them at some point, but
Yeah.
you're not gonna tee off the whole match and beat them.
No, for
Otherwise,
sure.
otherwise, lots of players would do that.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah, yes, I did have a plan. It seemed quite weird when we were talking about a game plan to beat Federer. Um, but what actually I was surprised at was, I think you watch Federer and you see YouTube clips and highlights and you see the amazing shots, but he was incredibly disciplined and solid. He kept every return pretty deep and central. I thought I'd get more winners and more errors out of him,
Sure.
but actually he didn't hit many of either. He did if I left the ball short or he got me out of position. He hit a fair few winners. Don't get me wrong, but I thought he'd go for a little more, and I'll be on the board a bit easier to begin with. But no, he had his game plan spot on.
Yeah, I can tell. I think that's one of the things that comes with experience though as well. It's just like when you kind of reach a new level of tennis in a sense. So like you get to like that next stage in the tournament. So you've gone up from like the 15K to the 25 and you're starting to do well. And you're put into these situations where there's actually like you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself and you're thinking, how far can I actually go here? It's quite tough to sort of find the balance between, okay, how big do I go here? And then also how safe do I play it? Because it's quite easy to kind of let those nerves get to you and then start kind of pushing it around too much. And then they start to get on top of that. And it's also easy then to start overhitting a bit too and starting to think, well, if I kind of push this around too much, if I don't take this shot, am I going to regret this? And like loads of things start to get in your head. But just out of interest, obviously a lot of it comes from experience, but do you have any kind of like tips for sort of dealing with that? So like for players who've kind of gone up a level and they're sort of like, okay, what do I do here? How do you sort of mentally manage a situation like that where it's so kind of out of the ordinary for you and you're just trying to figure out how to play?
Well, from my experience, when I'm sort of playing, so if I was playing the 25Ks and I was playing a guy that had just come up, I would. Well, the mistake most players make is like I did against Federer at the beginning is go for a bit too much, sort of think I'm invincible at my end. And I remember just thinking, keep enough balls on the court and they'll try something ridiculous. I think if you're winning at the 15K level and go to 25s, you don't have to change too much. There's so much value in just getting the ball in the court and asking your opponent questions, because it's the pressure is on the favorite. So if you're keeping asking questions, putting the ball in and not overplaying and being pretty steady, that's quite tough to deal with, and you'll get some joy there. But a lot of the guys at every level, when they go up, just miss too much, go for too much. Don't the best players on big points make balls. I mean, look at Djokovic now. Like when he's break point out and he makes a first serve, he just does, and they don't really miss second serve returns. They're not shanking. They're not really off balance. They're pretty within themselves and constantly asking questions. There's nothing worse playing against someone who's not going to miss, and you know that.
Yeah, it's true. And something you touched on as well just kind of got me thinking as well. It's like you look at the kind of the stuff on YouTube and you look at the stuff kind of on like the recaps and everything. And these people, they tend to make like the highlight reels very, very prevalent. So you see so many of like the highlights, and all of that is just the best points, the best shots, and the most flashy things
Yeah.
looking unbelievable. But actually, it's quite easy to almost be misled by that and then find that
Oh,
actually the reality of the situation is there's so many more errors and there's so many more kind of imperfect points, where it's like these highlight reels just full of stuff that is almost unrealistic in that sort of a sense. When you look at
yeah.
the whole match, when it all comes down to it, it's literally like who's making more balls and who's just kind of asking the questions, like you said.
Yeah, I mean it's so true. I had that misconception about Federer. And I was there at the tournament, so it's very easy to look at stuff and read too much into it and think that's the norm for them, the
Mm,
highlights.
yeah.
That's what people are capable of on said shots. But
Yep.
yeah, tennis is very much about percentage of first serve points won, second serve points won, and balls on the court a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, you get pivotal moments and big shots and big occasions that can swing things, but a lot of the time, most of tennis is quite boring. It's quite basic. It's quite, not that watchable for a
That's
lot of
why they make the
people.
highlight reels, don't they?
That's why they
Yeah.
make the highlight reels. Yeah, but that's the reality of it. And same with football matches. Any sport, you get the highlight reels and you think, oh, this was a great match, but a
Mm,
lot of it is very tactical and very, very solid stuff going on.
yeah. Like the best
Yeah,
coaches
it's a
who've
miss.
worked with me, that they've sort of said it's like it's a case of the basic things done really well, and that's what takes you
Yeah,
really far. Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
So I remember you had weapons. It was just trying to use them the right way and not
Yeah,
overuse them as such, right? So it's the same for loads of people. It's for me. I've always had a good serve, but I was pretty steady from the back because I had limits to what I could do. So
yeah,
I found it easier to play than a good friend of mine, Josh Milton, who had the most lovely ball strike, but you'd see him, hitting the ball far too hard sometimes. So,
sure.
but for me, I found it quite easy to play with my game style. For others, it's very hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And so obviously after that, I know you mentioned you kind of like the cameras and stuff. You obviously weren't too much of a fan of that, but kind of going back home after that match and stuff, and after all the publicity and stuff coming off the back of it, what was the sort of reaction from the family and the community and like the neighbors and stuff? Did you kind of how did you celebrate the whole thing as well? What went down?
It was really strange. The night after I played Federer, I was on Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield's program. I went on
Pretty
Piers
cool.
Morgan. It was a bit of a whirlwind of 3 months. I went out to America and did some stuff there. I was in the New York Times. Like, it was all really cool. Don't get me wrong. I did
Mm,
flipping hello shoot for my wedding and stuff like that. So it was all stuff I'm not unbelievably comfortable with, but stuff you've got to deal with as a player, and it's good financially. So it was all good. And then yeah, it was really I played again later that year. Played an ATP, won a Futures again. Started playing the next January, and then I got injured in my elbow. I couldn't lift my arm.
oof.
Um, and then straight away, I'm thinking, like, what do I do with myself? I couldn't really play as much as I wanted to. I had a young baby at the time. I've now
Mm,
got two children and two stepkids. So,
brilliant.
I didn't really know what to do with myself. Um, and then by 20, I can't remember when lockdown was, but by then I was sort of last chance saloon playing a bit of doubles.
Yeah, it's
Didn't want to
20.
play singles anymore because my body hurt. Um, but yeah, I wasn't in a good place at all.
Yeah,
I
that
retired,
yeah.
went on a building site, worked with my cousin, did a bit of coaching. I've been coaching for a couple of years, and it was fine. It was nice to earn money and be, not worry about cash so much and provide. But
Sure.
I don't know. I've had a lot of thought about this. I think I was struggling for purpose, really. I've been playing tennis all my life, and then all of a sudden I'm not, and it's like,
Mm.
well, is this it? Is this it now? Like, is this the rest
Yeah.
of my life forever?
Well, it's a bit like
And I just
military in a
start,
sense.
yeah,
It's like coming out of something that's so sort of high tempo and intensive, like tennis. And a few of the military guests I've had on, I mean, they struggle so much with the kind of reintegration to society. I know that obviously that's a very big extreme, like the military stuff, but tennis is kind of the same as well, because like our lifestyle and the stuff that we do and the kind of emotions that we get from from winning and from competing and stuff. It's so different from what you'd get from like a day job or something. And actually coming back
Yeah.
to something normal from that, it's actually a very difficult thing, isn't it? Because you've got this fast-paced lifestyle full of so much adrenaline and excitement and all these prospects, and also the pressure. Like the pressure is it's a weird thing, but like there's so much of it. But actually, when you start to kind of enjoy that in a way, because it's like the nerves and the pressure, it's all part of the experience. And when you've actually won something that's like so big or so important to you, it all just makes it so much more meaningful. But yeah, actually coming down from that is actually a very difficult thing. But yeah, I mean, this does lead really well to my third question, actually, because you were starting to touch on that then. Obviously, so I understand, like you said, over the next couple of years, after that period, obviously you went through a bad patch with a few things, and it was a difficult time for you. But now we are seeing you obviously back on tour, and you're doing fantastically well, in fantastic shape. So I'm wondering if you could tell us about, what happened, and what helped you the most to kind of turn things around. And if someone is in that position where you were, what would you tell them to help them out and kind of flip the script in it, almost a bit like you did?
Well, look, for me, ultimately, I got to a point where I asked for help, and I'll touch on that now. So I was out in America. I had a very good job with a player, and there's just a lot of spare time. And I ended up sort of going out by myself, just going out to bars, drinking a bit too much, turning up sort of hungover the next day, and I just sort of floating through life, thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing with myself? It was kind of the only thing I looked forward to, was having a few drinks in the evening, dying down, because I was very much by myself out in America.
Mm,
I mean, it got to a point where I went out, and then I went to like a liquor store and got a bottle of vodka and sat in my room, and
mm,
I had no work the next day. And I remember I put the football on because it was 5 hours earlier, and I just drank all day.
wow.
Um, and then I got home. I got home. I was yeah. I knew I didn't want to live like this. I got home and saw the kids and everything, and I was all was fine again. Obviously, when you're with kids and stuff, you don't have time to do anything. But it was any time I was alone. Like even when I went to do hits in London, I'd if I was staying over, I'd just I'd open a bottle of wine, or it was just I was using it to hide some sort of feeling, or just shut my brain up, or whatever reason I was doing it. It wasn't good. I wasn't
Mm,
feeling happy. I'd put on a load of weight. I was miserable, really. And I spoke to a friend about it. I said, look, I mean, I got to a stage where I said to myself, right, you're not going to drink for the end of the month, and a week later I'm there again. And I said, look, I need to slow this down. Like, what do I do? And he's really supported me, and it's been my life so much better now. I don't drink. I haven't had a drink for over a year. I've had to really look into myself and look into the reasons why, and things like that. But the thing I did was stop trying to do everything by myself. Um, and even when I was younger, I had problems with food and stuff. I'd always like binge eat, and I was kind of like a self-destruct button almost, but I didn't really understand why. I look back at photos and I was like so out of shape, but I was actually probably hurting a little bit and hiding something, or
mm,
just masking emotions with reacting to things. Um, so what I've learned now is if I'm ever having a bad day, which we all have, is just not to react. This is what I've learned through this friend and a few other people I speak to, is just sit through it. Um, I'm in a lot better place. I'm very, very aware of how I feel all the time, which is awesome. Um, but I think the thing that I did was ask someone else for help and actually listen, because I thought
mm.
I knew everything myself. I thought I could, I'm extremely self motivated. I was, we traveled the world by ourselves playing tennis. I was in the gym. I was, working very hard, but not quite there.
Sure.
Um, didn't quite have the off court things to make me a full professional. I was holding myself back a lot, and I didn't want it to become a huge problem to the point where it starts affecting your health, or you read stories of people that go missing, or drink too much, end up dying, or stuff like that. And it was
Yeah.
getting to a point where I wasn't comfortable with it. And I think everyone's got different phases of stuff they're comfortable with. There's no right or wrong to if you want to stop whatever you're doing. food, drink, drugs, whatever. But for me, I was deeply unhappy, so I had to ask for help.
Yeah.
And it's quite a scary thing because it's quite a scary thing to say to someone I don't know what I'm doing, like
Mm.
help. Still now I don't, it's almost like it feels like a weakness or something you don't quite have. But I think the alternative is a lot worse. If you don't ask for
For
help, it can
sure.
get a lot worse. So look, it's not ideal. I probably miss having a drink twice a year over Christmas. I found one night quite difficult, but it's just something I don't do now, and I've got no interest in going back because from what I know, it can creep back on you again.
Yeah,
It's quite cunning. So
it
no,
is.
yeah, I've been, I've dropped the booze. I'm eating a lot better. I just try and keep myself between like a 4 and an 8. I don't want to get too excited or too low.
Mm.
And that's the way I live my life now. And it's so much better. I was walking home from the gym earlier thinking, how much better is my life now?
It's
Like
true.
there's so much less crap in my head.
Mm.
And ultimately, someone that spends a lot of time by himself, that's really important for me.
Mm.
And I think a lot of people, myself, I found the alone time and the quiet times really difficult. That I could never be sat alone doing nothing, or I'd be easily bored. I need to just get out of myself, and
Yeah.
it's something I'm getting better with now. I'm still not ideal. I'm still like a little kid. Like my concentration span's terrible, but I'm a lot better, and yeah, my life's just yeah, so much less drama nowadays.
Yeah, I totally feel you, man. Honestly, I mean, it's a really difficult thing to go through, and I'm just glad to see that you're doing as well as you have done now. And that's one of the most important things too. I think it's like the whole thing about asking for help. It's so sort of I don't know. It's like misunderstood almost nowadays. It's like people just
Hmm.
they think that's like a sign of weakness, like rolling over and showing emotions and stuff. And people so often think
Yeah,
that they can just conquer it themselves and they know exactly what to do and that okay after this night okay I'm gonna take a week off or something and that's just that, but it never turns out like that. But I think the most important thing about asking for help actually is just the fact that to ask for help you actually have to then acknowledge, or you would have acknowledged, that you actually have an issue. And that's
yeah,
probably one of the most difficult things for people in that situation at the start. It's actually the whole accepting, okay, I do have this problem. Like you see the people online, you see these stories that are kind of almost structured a little bit to scare you, and you almost never want to believe, oh yeah, that actually could be me or that is me or something. But actually then admitting to it and then recognizing the problem, which you have to do through self-reflection and just being honest with yourself, then that's where you can actually start to take that first step, which would be asking for help, whether that's a friend or a coach or something, or even like a therapist or something. That's like the first step to getting better. And yeah, like when you find, I mean, like alcohol and stuff, it realistic when you boil it down, it's kind of like artificial fun in a way, isn't it? It's like
yeah,
it's fun at the, like we can probably all admit that actually when you're doing it, it feels great and it's like it's fun for
yeah,
the time and stuff. Like you actually it makes things better almost in that moment, and like confidence goes through the roof and you enjoy whatever
yeah,
you're doing more. And that's why it's so mainstream. But actually you can get the same amount of fun and you can get the same kind of dopamine factor from that, from actually doing things in life which are literally giving you the exact same things, just from real experiences. I think one of the big ones for me, for example, is like fitness training and the gym. Like
yeah,
literally I walk
yeah,
through the door, I do a session, and every time I walk back out of that door I just take a deep breath of the air and I think I feel twice as good as I did walking in there. Was that something for
yeah.
you as well, which made a big difference in that recovery
Well,
period?
I had that today, right? So I did weight session yesterday, and
Mm.
I had to do my bike today. Now I find bike really dull
Yeah,
because
it
you
is.
sat there for 45 minutes and it's hard.
Yeah.
But I was on the way to the gym, just really quite moody this morning.
Mm.
And sort of halfway through my workout, I started feeling better, and then I came out and I don't know, see the sun, and went and got a coffee. When I had some peanut butter on toast, I was just like, this is just bliss.
Mm.
But the old me would have sat at home probably feeling sorry for myself. Um, and sat there, probably ate too much, and you feel even worse. So it's hard sometimes. Some days I really don't fancy it, and
Mm.
but that's good. I mean, I've got Ben who's helping me out with my fitness, and it's sort of giving me accountability. It's
Yeah.
still I'm still looking to improve every day, and I've got to keep that through the rest of my life. Otherwise, if I've not got a purpose, or I'm not looking to improve, or I'm wrapped up in my own head, then I'm just going to be back at square one again. So
Yeah.
it is like working out, and you're right about alcohol. It's just that immediate thing, but for me, I was needing it a lot. I was needing it
Mm,
a lot, and actually that side of me after recovering from it, I was becoming a bit of a zombie. And
mm.
then it's kind of, for a while, that's the only thing I could think about. Like, I'd just get through the day so I could have a couple of beers at the club, and then the
Yeah.
couple of beers turned into four, and then I started, yeah, it started just getting a little bit out of hand,
Yeah. I totally
and
understand.
quite and worrying to the point where I had to ask for help.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing for sure, but I think one of the things that people don't really realize as well about, like, one of the reasons why it's so difficult to sort of get over that kind of a thing as well is because actually people think that it's just a case of, okay, I'm just going to drop this and then everything's going to be fine, like I'm going to go sober or something, and then everything's going to be okay. But actually the main reason why people sort of actually go there in the first place is because they've got stuff either in like their past or things that are happening that they're just not
Yeah,
satisfied with, like life quality or something, like they're just not happy. And then when they actually start to
yeah,
kind of withdraw from that stuff, they start to realize, yeah, hang on a minute, actually there's a lot of shit here that I need to deal with. And then
yeah,
you actually have to figure that out. Like
yeah.
that's part two. You drop the problem part of
That
it
is, yeah.
and then you
It's
fix. Yeah.
but for me, it was a numbing thing towards the end. And when I first started drinking, I had all my feelings back again. And obviously, there's a load of stuff that I've got to work on, sort of back when I was a kid, and stuff. Obviously, the last few years have been quite up and down. So
Mm,
there's loads of stuff you have to work. It's not like you stop and your world's perfect. Like, I've had quite a tough year,
yeah.
in one way or another. But still, life happens and life's hard.
Yeah.
Um,
It is.
but it's just manageable. It's just manageable now, right? It's for me. It's Yeah. I'm doing everything in my control to give myself the best life, and I'm okay with myself now.
Great.
Whereas I really wasn't doing my best before. I was kind of my own worst enemy, and I was kind of living in regret and just a bit of a loser. I was becoming
Sure.
a bit of a loser, really. Although it was sad, and it's not always. It's not. You can't put fault on yourself all the time. It made me into someone just floating through life, not really doing anything.
Mm.
And life's too short. It is. I'm 32 now. I remember when I was 16. It's like, it's quite fast paced life. You're not here for very long, so you might as well give it your best go.
Absolutely true.
That's my kind of attitude towards it now. So
But it's one of those things. It's like when you when, the best way to put this is like when you actually have someone who's kind of addicted to something, or if they have like a problem with things and they're trying to deny it, like they're spending so much time trying to prove and deny that actually there isn't a problem, that actually affects everyone around them too. And it's like, it's obvious usually to people, like people sense things and it just creates these
yeah,
problems. But actually when you're in a position where you're making these life choices, like you've dropped this, or I'm now working on this inside of me, or I've actually taken action on this, I'm going to the gym, I'm now back to playing tennis, these kind of things, actually, like internally, like the you that's kind of inside your head, like the person who's thinking at night, the person who's in the shower thinking, what can I do here, that person is actually like getting the pride out of that. Like you're actually thinking, I'm so happy with myself that I've done this. And you don't even need to like say it to people, you don't need to show it or
no,
post about it. Like you actually just
yeah,
are happier inside, and then that goes outside like a tree. That's like the roots have to be healthy, and then everything that happens out of there, whether that's bloody berries or branches, whatever, that's the kind of stuff that you see. But it's actually like the strong roots that's inside that leads to that sort of flourishing outside, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, it's spot on. Just yeah, yeah. For me, I'm doing everything I can. I'm trying to improve, and that's enough. That's all I want from myself, is do my best, and things that get in the way of me doing my best, kind of want gone. And
Mm,
okay, yeah, I mean, flip. A lot of friends I used to hang around with and drink with, I don't see so much anymore. But that's my path. It's my life.
yeah.
I'm still friends with people. I just, I don't want to go and sit in a pub all day watching football. I just watch it at home, or take my kids out, or I go to the gym when I'm away now. I've got
Yeah.
still got a lot of spare time, and better things are happening for me. People are, want to help me a lot more now.
Mm,
Um,
absolutely.
and I just feel more useful, and I can sleep at night a lot better. It's just,
Sure.
I don't know, it seems to work for me, but yeah, if you told me when I was 21, like there'll be a stage in your life where potentially you won't drink for a while or ever again, I'd have gone, oh, what's the point?
Well,
What am I gonna do at the weekend? But
yeah.
I was very much a single youngster who, loved getting out and letting my hair down, as I used to call it. But
Yeah.
um, but no, it's yeah, it's my life now.
Yeah.
It's peaceful. It's nice.
But that's an important thing as well, though. Like you kind of touched on there, you said you don't see some of those people as much, but that's a very important part of like that side of things too. Some of the people I've had on before talking about a similar subject, and definitely my own beliefs as well. It's just that sometimes they might actually be really good people too. Like they actually might be really
They
sound
are.
people, but
Yeah.
you might just associate like that person or this place or this podcast or this time or this day of the week or something. You might associate all of those things with this thing that's distracting you or making things worse. So then that leads you to then picking up a bottle of booze or getting the beer with the friend and stuff. And then like actually to
Yeah.
kind of get off of that, people can be perfectly sound but you still need to kind of readjust things. Like then you get the gym buddy instead, or you get the tennis partner or something.
Yeah.
Or yeah, it's just positive relationships.
It's so much better. And like in December, I went for my staff night out, and I watched everyone else get battered, and it was quite funny. And went for a curry. I had an alcohol-free beer. It's disgusting, so I don't really drink those anymore. But I left at 10:30. So see you later. They won't remember me leaving. It's
Mm,
not like I'm hid in a cave or anything. And my best friend was back from America, and he knows I don't drink anymore. We just meet for a coffee, or
mm,
I'll go and sit there while him and my other friends get smashed, and I'll leave after a couple of hours.
sure.
It's not like I have to hide from it, but I think there are a couple of people that have said, "Oh, why don't you drink? Just have a couple come out." There's two or three of those, and it's like, you know, why do you care so much if I have a beer? Um,
Yeah.
there's not
Yeah.
many of them. Most people don't really care if you drink or not.
True.
They're just either happy for you or not. There's a couple of people that can't get their head around it, and I think often maybe they're struggling, or maybe they want to stop, or they want you to be a certain version of them that they liked, or something like that. But
Yeah.
you don't hang out with a couple of people, but I've got four children, a wife, and I've got work to do. So it's not like I've got a load of free time, and I'm certainly not going to spend my free time at a pub.
Yeah. But that's
That's
the
just
thing
my
though.
thing. But but
Yeah.
but a lot of people do it, and they have a lovely time. And they socialize, and it doesn't affect their life. Now that's just not for me.
Mm, I
There's
totally
nothing
agree.
there's nothing wrong with people who get drunk or go out, or because they enjoy it, and
Sure.
they love it, and it doesn't affect their life. So, but I've just had to become not more selfish in a way, but just I've got to find what works for me, than rather try and please everyone and be this version of myself that people want to see or
So
like.
true. But that
Yeah.
brings questions up, like, doesn't it? So when you take someone who like says something like that to you, and they liked you for that version of you or that person who was the drinker and stuff, or going out for them with drinks, you got to ask yourself, did this person actually like me for me and the person that I am and like the friend and stuff, or did they just like
Yeah.
the kind of the social side of things, like they have someone to drink with and stuff as well? So
Yeah.
then you start questioning things. Was this actually a meaningful relationship? And then you actually start to think, off the back of that answer, is this actually something I want to then maintain if that's the only reason why they actually liked to spend time?
Yeah.
One of them
That's it.
things.
I mean, yeah, as you say, you think about it and you're like, well, I mean, I'm a very different person now to
Mm,
the person I was a couple of years ago, and certainly few people know what I'm really like or have interest in. I think a lot of people just want to go out and have a few beers, and
sure.
they want everyone to be okay, but they're very much in their, if there's another person there getting drunk, it's more fun.
Yeah.
Um, I don't see every relationship as meaningful anyway. There's people that in your life that are great people that you don't have a whole lot in common with, or you do, but there's a certain amount of time, and look, yeah, it's just my life's different now. It's not.
Yeah.
My life's different. My life's better, and most people are happier for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I am
Certainly,
for
certainly
sure.
the people that matter anyway. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
uh it's it's one of those that, yeah, it's not a selfish thing, but it's something you've got to do for yourself.
Absolutely. And it's perfectly okay to do that for yourself too. No, man, I'm really happy to see that you're doing how you are now. And yeah, it's one of those things too. It's like I went to this concert recently. It's my favorite band in Dublin. And like obviously kind of Ireland is it's like very drink centered place. Like the culture there is
Oh,
like very, very drink based. And I was just
I had
thinking like,
my I had my
yeah,
stag do there.
did you?
Yeah, I
One
had
of
my
them,
stag
eh?
do there. Yeah, it was a good weekend. Yeah.
But yeah, and I was just thinking like kind of the music I'm listening to and this concerts and stuff, I want to literally remember everything about this. And if I go and drink and stuff, or if I even have like a couple of beers and that inspires like more of that, I'm actually gonna like lose parts of the memory of this. And I don't want to do that. So I mean it just enriches your life so much more when you're clean and making good decisions for sure. But yeah, so fourth question then, Marcus. Bit more about the tennis stuff and just tapping into the experience and expertise of the legend here. Do you have any tips, industry knowledge, or bits of great information for the players that are now coming through? And maybe there's something you wish you had known earlier in your career, which you now do know, or found out through your experience.
Yeah, I mean I work with a few players coming into the adult game now, and I say the same thing, but make sure you got a support group around you because that's the
Mm,
one thing I didn't have, and that's how I lost my way a bit. I kind of lost a couple of matches and lost faith in what I was doing rather than have a team around you. Now you got to have people that care about you around you as well. Like
mm,
that's important.
sure.
You got to have people you want to throttle around you. That's part of it. That's look, that's the reality of tennis, right? I remember traveling with coaches and people, and if they really care, you're going to argue sometimes. You're going to get fed up with their voice, but you see Djokovic, you see Tsitsipas, they've all got their group around them. Andy Murray. There's so much value in having a team around you because it's
Mm,
not just tennis. Like, I mean, I was a very good player, and I've seen so many players that have been alone that just lose it in the end. And so I say,
sure.
make sure you've got a good support group around you. Make sure you keep believing in the process and not analysing results so much.
Yeah.
Like, I always used to analyse every result. Oh, I lost to this guy with a lower ranking. That means I'm this. Or even when I beat someone, I remember when I just turned 17, I beat a guy about 180 in the world in a futures, or maybe 200. He was about 200, and I went outside
Mm.
and I rang my parents, and my coach at the time came out, slapped the phone out of my hand. He went, "You're shit, he's shit. Go and warm down."
Love it.
And what he was, yeah, but it was such a good lesson because I just won a match in the futures against someone with X ranking, and I thought, I've made it, and I'd be all and end all. And actually, I'm in the second round of the futures, and there's so much work to do still.
Yeah.
In the same way, if I lost to someone in colleagues and I was down, he'd be like, "You're a fantastic player. Don't worry about it. Let's go practice."
Mm.
And they're the people you need around you. You just need to stay grounded and actually stop looking at numbers and rankings, and just if you go out there and look after each day as well as you can, then good things are going to happen, or at least you're going to maximize your potential.
Mm.
Rather, I find it quite hard in the UK. There's a lot from a young age. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of unhealthy competition around with each other
Oh, yeah, so much.
about who's the best under 12 in the county and under 14. I see it now, and it's just people go mental by it. And actually, you don't realize all this is irrelevant right now. Just do
Yeah.
your best and try and think bigger picture all the time.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's such a toxic environment at times. I'm sure you've seen it
Oh,
and been
100%.
around it.
Yeah.
It makes it unenjoyable for the player. You can see them not enjoying it, and the amount of people that quit when they're 14, 15 when I was growing up, just because it became too much for them.
Sure.
But this always starts off as a hobby and a dream.
Mm.
So there's no need for it to completely ruin your life.
Absolutely. Yeah, just keep following the
Um,
passion. Is it, like you
that's
started
it.
off with it.
Keep
Yeah.
enjoying it. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, so true. And yeah, it's like tennis is one of those things, like I said at the start, it's a game of long odds, isn't it? And I can't remember. No, you have to forgive me because this was years ago. My dad's a super keen kind of like tennis coach, very keen on the tennis stuff. And he did this study. I think like he went through kind of like top 50 players on the ATP tour a few years ago, something like 100 ATP players on the ATP tour, and kind of went through like their ITF rankings and stuff and their results and kind of did the stats and everything. I can't remember exactly what the number was, but it was something like it's just the players who win 55% of their matches or something. Those are the ones who are actually up there. But it's that, like I said, it's the game of long odds, isn't it? It's not about this tournament, this match, or whatever. It's literally just how are you going to be consistent, and what's your consistency level going to be going forward into the future of tennis, for sure. Like, it's one of those things.
I think taking it a match at a time, a training session at a time, is the way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just make sure you're around good people, and just does it. As my coach slapped my phone out of my hand, he was right to do that. And I won against this player 100 and something in the world. Now some people are winning, their under 12 county stuff and giving it the big one, or getting depressed about it. And there's a natural healthy thing about being happy when you're winning and being sad when you lose. That makes you a better player. But it's such a be all and end all attitude to everything about something that really has no importance whatsoever. And it's the players that have that big picture vision that end up doing well, not someone obsessed with being number one in the country under 14.
Absolutely. And the other thing as well, I'd say, is that focus on the short-term goals too, because let me tell you, if you had an actual number of the amount of forehand cross-court rallies you're going to have to do in a session to get yourself to a pro ATP level, you'd be running for the damn hills, son.
Yeah,
it's a scary one, but yeah, Marcus, man, so good to see you. You're doing so well. What's next for you? What can we expect to see from you in the coming months?
well, I'm just playing a load of tournaments. My ranking's up to about 330-ish in the world now, so I'm going to be playing some challengers. I'm just trying to get the ranking as high as possible and play as much tennis up until the grass court season, and then see what opportunities are there, if there are any. Obviously, my dream is to play Wimbledon again at some point. So if that doesn't happen this year, then so be it. If it does, great. And yeah, I just want to keep playing tennis as long as I can. As long as I believe I can be good, then
fantastic.
Then that's it.
Great stuff, man. Well, that has been the 4 questions done for today, Marcus. And before we wrap this up, it is time for what I like to call the shameless plug. So, Marcus, feel free to take a minute and just promote anything you're working on. That could be your social media pages or anything that you want people to take a look at, or just something you believe in.
Oh yeah, so I've got my social media at Willbomb90. That's Instagram and Twitter. I'm in the process of building a website at the moment, so I won't bore you all with that. But but no, that's where you can find me, follow me, and yeah, look forward to seeing everyone.
Great stuff. Marcus, thank you so much for joining me today for the Talk4 podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Glad we can finally get it done.
Brilliant. Thanks, Louis.
Awesome. And thank you guys all for listening. This has been episode 63. And if you'd like to listen to our past episodes, go and have a look at the channel. And if you'd like to listen in for the future ones, we've got 3 today. Valentine's Day. I'm doing 3 podcasts. Tells you something about love life. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and spread some love by leaving a like and a comment. Signing off for now.